God gave you gifts, but do you know how to show them in a job interview? Let's talk personal brand on this episode of Kingdom Dads.
What's up, men? Welcome back to Kingdom Dads. Man, we are back for Season 2, Episode 3 already.
You're back, man. Feels good. How are you?
It does. I'm good. I have been excited about this episode for quite some time. It's been one that's been on my heart and that we've talked about. It's going to be a little bit off theme, it may feel like, from our discipline conversations from our kids that we've had the last couple of weeks, but I feel like it's right in theme with the life application that we've had, that we've talked about, we will be continuing to have throughout this season. And so today, guys, we're going to talk about building your personal brand and kind of navigating your career and give you some tips around what that looks like from our own experience. And we're excited to talk to you about it. So
speak about why it's important. I think you've been helping some guys in our community kind of work through some of that, and really understanding the importance of your brand, right? Because I know so many times we apply for a job because it might look like something we want to do, and then you get in and you're trying to sell yourself, and it's like, whoa, hold on, this job needs to apply to me a bit too, for you to feel fulfilled. So super excited about diving into this, and you mentioned last week's episode with Tom. I think that one was awesome.
It was.
Discipline, building a relationship with your child. That's not something that I've thought about as far as the discipline aspect. I think you spent a bit of time talking about your children respecting you and you building that respect, right? Like right now as a 4-year-old, like my son's probably going to do what I tell him to do just because I'm his parent, right? But at some point there's going to be a shift from that. And so really thinking through that of how well I truly understand my child and encouraging him to be who he is, and me meeting him there, and him wanting to listen to me and follow me because he does trust me, because he does love me, and he sees that I love him. I think that was a huge takeaway for me, and I think that was really great from the last episode.
Yeah, I agree. We had a lot of great feedback on that, and I wouldn't be surprised, guys, to see Tom back on again at some point. He's got a lot more notes and a lot more that he wants to share. I know we talked about. Yeah. We love the theme of how that went. I know we've got a really great couple of guests coming up. We've got Josh and Lena Wooten, who some of you will know, local here to Gallatin, but pastors in their own right, and they have had some of the most fun as a family of any family that I know. And so they're going to get on and literally just talk to us about having fun in the family and how to keep that fun dynamic while also raising a healthy family. So I think that's going to be really good. And then following that, we got Kathleen Edelman coming up. So big lineup.
I said this, you heard that?
Yep.
This is the book she wrote. I think that's going to be really good on connecting and raising your children. We've got Parent Protect coming to talk about keeping your kids safe online and guardrails and things that you can put up to help your kids navigate the online space. And so, really looking forward to that with this season of application. And so, let's dive in. So, our personal brand.
It became pretty evident. So a little background on me. I've got a heart, obviously, for, helping men and discipling and growing men. And one of the ways that I have found is very needed and a common ask and a common need amongst men is helping them to know what they bring to the table, identifying where they should land in a career, what they're skilled at, and then even coaching them through that. I've coached probably 20 to 30 men in this now. I actually, years ago, coached our very own Willie T in a coffee shop well before we became good friends like we are now. And I've watched that successfully, and that's not through my own doing. I've been mentored in ways that have helped me and grown me, and I just want to pass that on, and I know we've talked about that a lot. So we're going to talk about that today, and kind of the steps and kind of the gaps and understanding of what your brand is. One of the things that I have told my teams, Tanner's literally sat in a meeting before when I have asked my team, hey, how many of you guys in this room can identify your brand? And I bet if you ask 100 men, maybe 3 of them would say, I know what my brand is. I know what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
Not very many people think that way, and it's not arrogant. It may seem like it. It's confidence in your giftings. And what you bring to the table. And so we're going to talk about that.
It's a good way to put it, because a lot of us have different skills, different skill sets, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but you look at a job description, right? And you're like, oh, I can check that box. I can check that box. And let's be real, like a lot of things we see on some of these job descriptions, like you could probably fill a role as far as from an objective standpoint.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can learn how to do things, but like, what do you bring to the table? What is your brand? Who are you? And in order to find the place that not only is going to be a perfect fit for you, but also to really be happy with where you're at, and you're doing your next job or your next career a favor by being that person that finds the right role. I mean, how many times have you been in a business, workplace, whatever, and it's kind of like you got some really great people there, but at the wrong seats on the bus, and they're not really driving the pieces they should be driving, and you see great attributes and you see a great skill set, but it's like, if that skill set was here, sure, they can do that job. But if that skill set was here, man, think how good this place would run.
Yep. And we should talk about that more. And some of that plays into, this will all tie together, and you'll understand more about this when we have Kathleen Edelman on talking about temperaments. But a lot of the getting the right people in the right seats on the bus also has to do with what temperament they are, because different temperaments are better in different positions. That's all a part of knowing what your personal brand is that we'll continue to talk about. So hold on along this ride with us, and you'll start to understand what that looks like as we piece the puzzle together. So let's start off first with how most people view being qualified for a role. And so, like you mentioned, most people tend to look at my brand as, well, I'm a double major from IU and my GPA was this, and I'm good at, Microsoft Office and these skills and that and this and that. And that's great. Those are all technical skills. Those are all skills that, yes, are important, and you do need to have some of those, obviously, depending on the job. Some of them, very high skill requirements. If you're a lawyer or a doctor or a veterinarian, yes, they require very specific skills that you cannot go without. But there are a whole nother set of skills called soft skills. If you guys are unfamiliar with the concept, think of stakeholder management. What are some soft skills, Nate?
Well, and sorry, I was thinking about something you just said. I work in healthcare, and even for those that do have a specific niche, your soft skills that you bring to the table, your communication, your leadership, your ability to your emotional intelligence, your ability to handle different situations, those kind of things are all still taken into account in the specialty fields. And so when you start getting into some of these higher level jobs that there are more and more competition for, you really knowing your skill set and your soft skill set. That's not a term I've used a ton, but 100% knowing your soft skill set is huge, and really setting yourself apart and knowing what you bring to the table, and then being able to communicate what you bring to the table. Exactly. Think of soft skills, things like I'm strategic. Like I said, I'm great with stakeholder management. I'm creative. I'm diplomatic. A lot of those kind of developed character traits, some of them natural, some not, those are very hard to teach. But once you learn them and once you mature in them, oftentimes are far more valuable than technical skills. I have hired a lot of people and interviewed a lot of people, and soft skill maturity is pretty rare. And I've had to develop and teach a lot of it, and it takes a long time. So if you're somebody who is proactive about that on your own, you automatically have a big leg up. Yeah, absolutely. It's not something that's really taught in schools. It's not something that you really learn to identify along the way, right? Like you learn it along the way, but you might not learn to identify it.
I remember it was first introduced to me, and this is not in the outline, it's just ad hoc, literally on a bookshelf over there across the room. There's a book called Strength Finder that I took, 10 years ago. It's an old soft skill strength finding book, as the title, lays out. And my number one thing that came back from that book, it rates, you answer certain questions and it rates you. And mine was strategic. And that has played out through my career over the last 20 years. It's like, oh, that was absolutely right. And I took that, it's been probably 17 years or so. But I remember, I'll give this example. I did 10 years in the music business and touring for the first 5 or 6, and then on the office side, and project management and director of operations for the last 4 or 5. And I would talk to so many touring guys who were on the road and they wanted to get off the road, and they would be like, gosh, I'm just stuck. I don't know how to get out of the music business. Like with it, this is all we do. And once we're here, like you're just stuck. And I remember thinking towards the end, as I was growing and maturing, thinking, man, we do something that's more stressful than most people ever do in their life. We put on some of the world's biggest shows for the biggest artists in the world. We manage huge crews of stagehands, putting a huge show up, taking it down out of the sky all in one day, 18-hour, 20-hour day, go to another city and do it again 3 to 4 in a row and then go home.
Yeah.
That is a massive amount of management, multitasking, task delegation. I mean, I was leading crews. There were a lot of them that were leading crews. It is a very difficult thing to manage that I remember when I transitioned out of it and got recruited into corporate, I remember thinking and telling people who were very stressed out around me, guys, this ain't stressful. We're fine.
Yeah.
Like, we're fine. I'll tell you what's stressful is when you got a show crashing in front of 70,000 people or something. Then we can talk about stress.
That would be stressful.
We're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was a good example of, oh, my technical skills are not directly transferable, but man, I have a lot to offer if I just know how to identify and tell that story.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're about to get into really how to identify, tell your story, how to identify your soft skills. Something that I keep coming back to, and I've referenced it several times in the podcast, is a study we did with our men's group, the Titus 10 study, and it talked about identity versus assignments, right? And that identity has stayed with me so much of defining who you are first and foremost. And so right now, before we get into any of these questions of what to go through to figure out your soft skills, figure out your talents, figure out, all those things, like you first have to identify what's important to you, who you are. I talked about in the last episode or in the last season about how I didn't do a great job of reflecting. It's just like I just take tasks and I roll with them and I take on life in that same manner and, I get the job done and I move on to the next one. And man, if you're not taking time to reflect, if you're just taking on tasks because like, hey, I'm a man, I can do it, I can get the job done, I'm experienced, and you're not taking time to really figure out, who am I? What do I like?
Yeah.
Man, you're going to miss out on things, and you're going to miss out on probably really finding your purpose and your passion and really being able to drive forward in that. Yeah. And so, I mean, I can't hammer that home enough. It's something I was going to say. I kind of strayed back to the intro, but that's so important to do. And so take time to do that first before we really dive into some of these questions. That's
huge, man. I'm so glad you brought that up because you're right. What you are, I get asked a lot, well, how do I know what I'm naturally good at? And that's a great question. I asked myself that a lot earlier on. Like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know. I wish God would just tell me what I'm put here for. Mm-hmm. What you find yourself naturally doing if you have nothing else to do is a pretty good indicator. Unless you're playing games all day on the couch in your mom's basement, you need to question what you're doing. But if you are just having free time and you're spending time, or you find yourself during the day of your work, hey, I'm finding myself constantly kind of moving back towards this kind of task. There's something that will stick out most of the time when you think about that. That is probably a pretty good indication to start digging internally.
Yeah.
For me, it's problem solving. I get really bored, I know, if I am in an operational role where everything's running smooth. Like I've done this many times. Tanner will tell you because he's been on one of my teams, but I really like fixing teams, transforming teams, getting people in the right places. But once I get it running smooth, if you don't give me more problems to solve, I get really bored.
Yeah.
And I am not your operations guy that you just leave in that place to be like, cool, now run it now. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, no, I want more things to fix. Like put me in a place.
Yeah. And that's so important, so I work in healthcare, right? I'm a physical therapist. And so, now I'm at a point where I oversee physical therapists. And so, I'm hiring and interviewing quite a bit, right? And, these therapists go to school, they come out with a degree and then they apply. Right. And there's so many times where I sit down and it's like we talk through skill set, what you're interested in. But, in general, you're going to start to see multiple people that have these same skill sets. And so that's why it's so important to set yourself apart, to get into not only the right position, but the right position at the right place. Like you might be thinking right now, like, oh, I have a job and it fits my skill set well. But like, are you at the right spot? Are you with the right team? Should you be leading a different kind of team? I mean, all these little things, I think they really start to pour into your day in and day out satisfaction. Something that floats around at work a lot is burnout, right? And you get burned out most of the time, not because you're just doing too much work. It's because you just feel like you're doing work, but you're spinning your wheels. You don't have the right team around you. You're not involved. You don't have the right people supporting you. You don't have a good connection with the people around you. And so, if you're thinking like, oh, this isn't for me, just hang on a minute and think about it a little bit, because something like this could really help take your career and your growth to the next level.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that before we get into practical application. So we'll talk for the next, 5 to 10 minutes around building what makes up your personal brand and building that story. And then we'll wrap with, okay, now how do I tell that? And what does that look like as far as getting that out there and being convincing and all of that? Not in a manipulative way, but in a confident way. So your personal brand, like you already talked about, that can be made up of your values, your soft skills, your technical skills, what you bring to the table. I put it this way: if I am interviewing you, and I'm interviewing, 5 people in that day, 3 people in that day, why, if we're all technically qualified, or if you're all technically qualified on paper and you've all made it through the screener, why should I hire you above anybody else? And you better be able to tell me that and make me feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Being confident that you're the guy for the job or the lady for the job by the end of that, or else you're probably not going to get the job.
Yeah.
So for me, I'll tell you a little bit about what that looks like, and speak to this for yourself as well, if you want. But for me, I think of it like this, and I will rehearse to the steering wheel early on. I've told Tanner this many times, like, hey, as you're getting comfortable with this, rehearse it to the steering wheel as you're, feeling that out. What is your elevator pitch? But as you start to define who you are, hey guys, I'm Andrew. Great to be here with you today. Thanks for your time. Man, here's a little bit about me personally, and I'll put together a few, 10 to 20 seconds. I'm, a dad of Hannah and Eden, husband to Kelly, blah, blah. Professionally, here's a little bit of my experience. What I like to tell people that I bring to the table, guys, is I am a problem solver who drives execution and manages my stakeholders really well. So I'm the person that's going to get in the room. I'm going to hear the conversations. I'm really going to seek to understand them. And I'm probably going to start asking the questions that nobody in the room has been asking to this point, that hopefully close the gap and drive to execution into a successful project delivery.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's huge. I think as someone who does quite a bit of interviews, I think it is important to have somebody that can speak that to me, right? Because it is helpful. What if you're going in and you're just looking for a job because the pay looks good and maybe it's convenient to your house, and you're not necessarily, you don't know your deep down skill set, you don't know exactly what drives you and exactly what your focus is, and you get put on a team with a lot of those people, right? Yeah. And now you're going to butt heads all day, and nothing's going to get done, right? And so you talked about, it's not about being cocky or overconfident. It is about understanding yourself, who you are, and being able to verbalize that with clarity.
Well, and here's the good thing as well. When you are confident in the ability you bring to the table, and it's a true confidence of like, hey, I have identified over time that this is something I am strong at, and I have also received that feedback, and it's been evident by my output. You can think that you're good at something, but if your output doesn't show that, or if you don't have the fruit of that, maybe that's something to be mindful of. But something that you bring to the table when you're confident in it is, you don't have to second guess, hey, asking the questions in the meetings or representing a certain way. You can confidently say, hey, I am good at this. This is something I will bring to your team, guaranteed.
Yeah. And that's huge. And then you can follow up on it. Yes. You know, how many times have in the past, and I've been, you can accuse me of it, but selling myself on something, and then I actually get to that point and it's like, crap, I don't really want to do this. This isn't really my drive. I'm not excited about this. Or maybe you don't even know how to do it, right? Like that's a stressful situation to be in. And so, really taking time, reflecting, figuring that out, is huge.
Yeah. I like it. All right. Where to dive in next?
Yeah. So you were going to dive into components of it, but something I did want to start before we move on from this reflection piece, right? So if you're like, I don't really know, I just kind of been doing this job for 10 years, and that would be, I would say I would probably fall kind of into that category, right? Like I'm a physical therapist. Just within the last year and a half, I've really taken the time to reflect, to figure out my leadership style, the positions I like to be in, how I like to lead. And I'm 15 years into my career. And so it's like, this isn't just a thing that people think to do right out of school. And so I think initially, were you going to say something on that?
No, go ahead.
I think initially some of the questions to just ask yourself to start with are, what gifts do I have that solve real problems, right? Like, what are your gifts? When you look around and you're like rolling your eyes because somebody's doing something differently, it's like, well, maybe that's because they're in a piece that's not their gift, and you obviously see how to do that well. It's not just happenstance, right? Like they're not just dumb. That may just be a gift for you. And so what gifts do I have that solve real problems? What do people naturally come to me for help with?
Yep.
I think that
huge indicator.
Yes. Like it could be anybody, right? Like maybe you're not in a position where you work with teams all day. And so people aren't constantly coming to you, but you might have to think back and dig a little bit and like, what are people coming to me asking about? And then trying to apply that across the scale. And then one that's super important is in your job, when are you energized and fulfilled? Like how important is that? How many times do we have a job where we're there 8 hours during the day and it's like, oh man, I was energized for 10 minutes, or maybe I wasn't energized at all. Maybe this day was terrible, right? And so that's huge. And so I think if you take time to learn those things and figure those things out, that will drive your success more so than, hey, this pay is really good, I want to squeeze myself into this pay. I mean, I think if you're feeling your passion and you're doing what you really love to do, the pay is going to come. The growth is going to come. And so that's huge. So everybody out there, please take time to do that.
Yep. Agreed. The other thing that I'll say is it's not as easy for everybody. You just touched on this, but like if you are having trouble identifying and pointing out those things, well, what do people come to me for? I don't know, what strength do I bring, or what have I done that shows my strength? If you're having trouble getting to that, talk to somebody about it. I know I've done many, many mock interviews with people who I've coached and talked to. And through that process, I will ask them a lot of questions around, okay, tell me about that time and what did you have to do to get there? Cool. Now I want you to identify and realize that what you just told me is a soft skill that you need to realize is part of your brand that you're really good at.
Yeah.
So you may need to talk to somebody about that, a colleague. If you don't have a coach or mentor, you should get one. We've talked about that a lot already. But you have them in there. You just may not realize what they are. So
yeah, absolutely.
That I feel like, guys, is as we move on to the next part of telling and selling your story, that is something that as you step into an interview and even build your resume, but certainly and network and everything that comes along with navigating your career. Let me just start off by saying this. When you interview, like I said a minute ago, if I as the hiring manager interview 3 to 5 people a day for a position, I've got a position open right now. I've interviewed 3 PMs last week, in fact, in the last 2 days. The only thing that I don't remember a single one of their specific answers, but I remember that one of the candidates in specific spoke in a way and answered in a way that at the end of it, I was like, she can do the job. Yeah. She made me feel very confident that she was the right person for the job.
Absolutely.
That's all I remember. And it was because she was very confident and assertive in her ability and spoke well and convinced me that was it. It wasn't her answers.
Sure.
It was her countenance and her own confidence. And so that is a huge, huge part of it, and why this is so important.
Yeah, and you may not know every answer, but I think what's important too to remember is if you're applying to a good company and you're going to work for a good person that's going to oversee you, they're going to understand like, hey, this person might not answer it just right or answer it correctly, but this person's very confident in their answer. They know who they are. They know their deliverables. Yep. And so being able to voice that and dive into it is huge.
Yeah.
And you've got a couple things here, components before we go to the next section. Lay those out. I think those are really good. Some of them are kind of straightforward, but I think these are some things that people don't necessarily always question themselves with. I think so many times we just move on to the next step versus really taking time to ask these questions about who we are.
Yeah, well, I can tell you one that stands out. The components listed, we've got your values, your voice, confidence, your results, your reputation. Values, though, is one that I very openly voice when talking about my brand. I always say, hey, guys, I'm a people-first team leader. I care first and foremost about my people, and I will pour into them above all, because I firmly believe that as a people leader, if I care more about my people than I do the company itself, the company will benefit and get everything they're hoping to get because we've raised a great, healthy team who feels poured into and is loyal to the outcomes and to the company and to me as their leader.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's true. I can tell you from I've built probably 10 different teams now, and that's been true almost every time, if not every time.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about just how you're going to leave an impact one way or another, whether it's raising your kids, whether it's being a leader. This is something you put here, so I'll give you credit for it, but your brand is being built whether you're intentional about it or not. So the way you carry yourself, the way you you spell yourself out, the way you communicate, the way you lead. Maybe you're not a leader at work. Maybe you get tasks done behind the scenes. That's fine. You're going to be remembered for what the tone you are setting, whether you're trying to set a strong tone, whether you're trying to build a brand or not. And so I think that's where it becomes so important that you're at least aware of what you're doing.
Yeah, I think along the lines of values, I posted this actually on LinkedIn this week. It's a little off topic, but I'll mention it just because it's in line with values. You know, our priorities, as we mentioned several times on this show, are supposed to be God, our own health, being ourselves, our wife, our kids, everything else.
Yeah.
And everything else includes our job.
Yes.
That is how I lead my teams even, and how when I interview, I portray, hey, this is who I am. And if you're expecting me to flip that priority list upside down, this is not going to be a good fit because it's not going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I've talked about even, like, I believe in core hours for my teams. I say, hey guys, like, come in, if we're in 3 days a week, you're in core hours from like 10 to 2. But otherwise, just so we can collaborate in person, I don't care when you're in. I don't care when you get your work done. As long as I've hired the right people who are trustworthy and get their stuff done, I want you to be able to pick up and drop off your kids if you want to.
Yeah, it's important.
And so I don't know. I think all of that, who we are at work and who we are in interviews and who we are at home, just put it all in line.
Yeah, and if you're rolling through this and we're throwing this out and you're kind of challenged to yourself of like, I don't know if I can answer all these questions right now. Like that's okay. Something that you have down here is ask 3 people to describe you in 3 words. Just your 3 closest people. It could be a friend, it could be a parent, it could be a wife, it could be anybody. Heck, your kids. Sometimes they're more honest than other people. So you can ask to start, like, figure out, who am I? Something I've been really challenged with too. Like, this stuff evolves, this stuff changes. So it's okay you want to come back and do this exercise from time to time. But you guys heard me talk about a book I listened to over the summer by Rich Stearns, but it's Lead Like It Matters to God. And something he brings up, he was the CEO of Linux, CEO of Parker Brothers, president, CEO of World Vision when he retired. And so he's been in a lot of strong positions. The last one was a faith-based position, but the other 2 weren't. And something he continually brings up is his focus, no matter what, whether he's in church on Sunday, whether he's with his home at night or with his family at home at night, or if he's at work, his focus is to know, to love, and to serve God in all aspects of our lives, right? And I think that's huge. I mean, so many times I've really challenged myself. I stepped into a new role over the summer, and I really challenged myself to lead by my values, right? I'm going to have to step into this role. I'm going to have to implement some new focuses. I'm going to have to implement some changes, and it's going to be tough because sometimes implementing new things and making decisions, it's tough. But if I am leaning on my core values and I am in the right position, obviously first, which we just talked about, but then once I'm in that position, if I'm leaning on my core values to be the leader that God's called me to be, then it takes a lot of the stress out of it. It doesn't take it's still hard, but it takes a lot of the stress, right? Like something I talked about in a post is a surrendered leader. Like, you've given everything to God. He's in control, right? I am doing what I believe to be is right. I'm going in the direction God is leading me. Man, I'm good. Yep. I'm going to follow this. Now, it may not always work out. You may end up at a different job. You may not be a good fit where you are because of the way you're leading. But man, you're going to get to the right spot. You're going to get to where God wants you to be. And I think that's huge to dive in and really follow that mantra and really align that with where you're at.
Yeah, agreed. Well, as we wrap up, so let's talk about a couple of kind of homework items and for the week that I think will be really good. And then I'll make an offer at the end of this. If any of you guys listening have questions about this, feel free to reach out, send us a message on, YouTube, Facebook, any of the platforms that we're on. I will personally jump on a call with you for free. I'm not trying to make this is not it's just something I enjoy doing.
Absolutely.
And we'll gladly talk to you about it and help you navigate it. But what I would love to see, and what I would challenge you to do this week, if you haven't thought about this, your elevator pitch, this week as you're driving into the office or wherever you're driving, start thinking about and practicing. Let's say my name is John. Hey, I'm John. Here's what I'm passionate about, what I love doing, what I've done in the past really well, and I brought this to this company, and here's what I'm going to bring to yours if you choose that I'm right for this role, which I feel like I am, and just start practicing that.
Good.
You're going to have to go through that several And I mean like 5, 10, 15 times. Tell it to other people. But the good news is, I told Tanner this when we started this exercise a while back, is, hey, once you have that understanding about what you are, who you are, and you're confident in that, it's not an elevator pitch. It's just a statement of who you are confidently that continues to grow over time as you build more strengths.
Absolutely.
So it's not some exercise you have to keep strong. It's like you just start to know it.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
And I told Tanner, it's helpful because even when so much of the time when I step into, I've told you guys, I have inherited a lot of new organizations over the years and teams that when I go into a meeting room full of people, even in my new role that I'm in now, very quickly, like my third day, I was leading a meeting of pretty high up people where it's like, I'm the new guy in the room, but I need to show confidence that I don't know all of the context of what we're talking about, I do know how to ask the right questions and how to lead.
Yeah, you can, and that's another piece. You can ask questions and still be confident.
For sure.
You can ask for direction and still be confident.
Yeah, and that's a soft skill in itself. A lot of times I will say, hey guys, I realize I'm the new guy in the room, but I'm going to ask a couple of questions that I'm not hearing be asked, so thanks for your grace, but if you can just help me understand this piece.
Yeah.
But it's not only just building your brand and knowing what you are for jobs, but when you are in your position, when you walk into a room or into a meeting or into whatever situation you're in, you can then be confident, and the other people in that place feel confident that, oh no, this is the guy that's going to help us get this done.
Yeah.
That's how you climb and how you make more money through your career.
Yes.
I promise you, because I've done it and I've seen a lot of others do it.
Yes, it's huge. And Andrew said something and then just kind of kept rolling. But yeah, reach out to us if you have questions, if you want to work through this. I mean, this is fulfilling to us. I mean, that's why we're here on a Wednesday night filming a podcast, because we love just pouring into others. I think that Andrew and I have both been poured into, Tanner's been poured into, and we want to give this back. And so it fills our cups when when our listeners reach out to ask questions, give us topics, or do things like this. And so use us. We're here. We're going to learn from it as well. And so, we want to be part of your growth as a listener as well.
Yeah, and I think I meant to mention this when we first started, but the reason this topic came to mind even is because I see so many different guys and ladies who are a couple of tweaks or a couple of coaching conversations away from like tripling their income.
Yeah.
If they just had somebody pour into them a little bit to help them shape, like you have a ton of skills, you just don't know it.
Yes, absolutely.
And that is, Dave Ramsey says, like, income is your number one tool to better your family. It's the number one way to help your budget is income.
Yes. Money's not bad. Money's not evil.
Yep. And so, right. That's exactly right.
It's not, right? And so better yourself so you can better your family, better the people around you.
And generations to come.
Yeah. You have the skill set. God's given you the skill set. And so it is 100% your job to dive in and find that.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. That was good. I think we went right up the time.
I like it.
That was a solid episode. I think that's something we are both obviously passionate about. And so, man, this was a good episode. You mentioned the Wootons coming on for the next episode, and so we'll be back into.
That'll be a fun one.
Yeah, that'll be good. We'll be back into a topic.
They're hilarious. So if you guys don't know them, you're in for a treat because they will make you laugh.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And so just keeping it light in the family, keeping that love fresh between you and your wife.
Cool. Well, guys, like we say every week, tell another guy about this if you haven't already. Share with your men's group, whoever. We want to get this content in the hands of more men. Send us your ideas. Love the feedback and the engagement this week that we had. Keep on listening. We appreciate the heck out of you guys.
Yes, and, absolutely. Do share. What do you want to hear about? We talked about doing a live episode. We almost did it last minute tonight, but it didn't come together.
That's right.
Let us know, is there a topic that you want us to go live with so you can ask questions, and we'll probably do that on a Wednesday night, or we've done it before on a Friday night, so we'll figure the timing out. But if there's something on your heart that you want to talk about, we'll do it.
Cool. Want to pray us out?
I'll do it.
All right.
Lord, thank you for this time together. Lord, thank you for filling Andrew and I with your word and speaking through us. Lord, I pray for the listeners out there that what you're saying through us has an impact. Lord, I pray that you continue to be the light to our path, and you continue to support us, support our listeners, and help us grow in your kingdom. Lord, be with us through the week. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. What's up, Kingdom Dads? Thank you guys so much for listening in and watching today's episode. We are live on YouTube, all the platforms, X, Facebook, I don't know, Twitter, Instagram.
All of them.
All of them. So many now. Anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Like, subscribe.
Yep. Guys, gals, thanks for being here. As Andrew said, like, subscribe, comment, be part of this journey with us.
That's right. See you soon.